And a warm welcome along once again. It's Chris Reardon with today's United Kingdom talk. A little bit peeved today, boys and girls. A little bit peeved. I was talking to my sister a little bit earlier on. And you know how sometimes you're talking to someone on the phone and you very quickly become aware they're not really listening. Do you know what I mean? You chat away. Oh, it's a bit like this show, really. I'm sitting here chatting. You're not really listening, are you? Yes, you are. Don't worry. Oh, no, don't worry, please. Don't send any emails about that. I know you're there. I know. If you weren't there, I'd know about it. Believe me. What you don't realise, I shouldn't really tell you this, is that every listener to this radio programme, every viewer to this little morsel of television entertainment, I do feel that had I become an international megastar, as I am now, in the 70s, Lew Grade, the great Lew... Oh, I've got the music for that. Hang on. The great... hang on. Oh, we've got that one. We've got to play that one, dear. Where is it now? Where is it? There it is. There it is. Right, let's do that bit again. Okay? I do feel that had I been an international megastar in the 70s, as I am now, the great Lew Grade... chairman of ATV Television in the Midlands would have been on that phone offering me possibly to host the Golden Shots. Hosted, of course, by the great Bob Monkhouse. But I do feel that had I been around then, I could have done something like that. However, I wasn't, and I'm here now. And I was talking to my sister on the phone, just chatting away, you know, as you do, not about anything in particular. Well, actually, I say not like this show, really, because each word, each sentence for this programme is carefully crafted for your enjoyment. You don't think I just sit here and turn everything on and start talking about rubbish, do you? Good God, there's hours of preparation go into this. So I'm chatting away with her, and all of a sudden I could hear, yeah, and I'm going to be my sister now. Yeah, okay. Yeah. And I thought, you're not blooming well listening to me. And all of a sudden she came out with Tracy, my niece. Oh, Tracy's at home. And I'm like, why did you tell me that? Oh, I thought you might want to ring her. What a cheek. Palming me off to her daughter, my niece, because she couldn't be bothered to talk to me. Ain't it shocking? Well, I'm sorry, dear sister. This insult to my intelligence will have to be reflected in your Christmas present this year. Absolutely. What a cheek, dear. Palming me off to her daughter like that because she didn't have the... Well, it's not that she didn't have it. She couldn't be bothered to talk to me. So very disappointing about that. Anyway, so I put the phone down and I thought I was feeling rather peeved. Have you ever done that? You know, you're talking to someone and then you start hearing tapping like they're on a blooming keyboard or... You know, you start hearing that and you think you're not listening to me, are you, dear? So I then rang up my niece, Tracy. Now, myself and Tracy, she's 21. She's the one that bought a house with her boyfriend beginning of the year and they live there happily. And I tell you what, that they will be happily ever after. You know how sometimes you look at a couple and you think, ooh, not sure about them. Well, these two will be there forever and a day. They've even got a son. Well, not a human son. They bought a dog. Monty the dog. Now, regular viewers and listeners of the show will know that Monty the dog is a chocolate Labrador with the most beautiful eyes, but he's got bad legs. Apparently, this is inherent with this sort of dog, and he's already had an operation on his legs. I was very naughty on the phone the other day to my niece, I have to say. I said, I've got your present and I've got a present for Monty. And she said, what have you got him? I said, a new set of back legs. She wasn't impressed. She was not impressed. By the way, can you hear that buzzing? Do you want me to stop that? I tell you what it is. I always look around the house. Those of you watching the video, I always have a little look around the house to see if there's something I can put next to me. The last few shows, it's been a large plant, which I've now moved to the corner of the room. But I've got next to me this little flower display. Okay, and if I can explain it, it's like it's a bit like a cup. Oh, I know. You know that? Did anyone see Beauty and the Beast? You know the rose that I think is given to the monster, the Beast, who actually I thought was quite good looking. I mean, I'm not really bothered what people look like nowadays. I'll take anything that comes along. But the rose on that, and it changed colour. Well, I've got next to me a little rose, like artificial rose display. There are actually there are 3 roses, and it's got like fibre optics, and the rose changes colour. Now, I have to tell you, and it's standing next to me. The only thing is, it's a bit noisy. I don't know if you can hear that buzzing. Listen carefully. You can hear that, can't you? Shall I go and turn it off, or is that going to annoy you? It will if it goes on for an hour, won't it? I don't think there's anything else. No, it's still doing it. Now, this I actually bought for my nan when I think I was 16, 26, 36. So this, believe it or not, it's 29 years old and still working perfectly. There must be some sort of bulb in the bottom, and it lights up the fibre optics, and the rose changes colour. So do you want me to turn that off? Because it's a bit annoying, that, isn't it, that noise. Just a minute. Or can you not hear it? I bet you couldn't hear it until I mentioned it, could you? Let me have a listen on my headphones to see if it's very loud. 1 second now. It's not so bad if you can see it, but if you're just listening to the show, it might be annoying. Oh, no, it's not bad at all. You can't hear that, can you? OK, well, we'll leave that on. Where was I now? Oh, yes. So I'm talking to my niece, winding her up on the phone, and I do like to have a chat with my niece. Oh, my God, we slag everyone off. We love it. We're on that phone about half hour, 45 minutes every time. And her and me, we also play together ITV Bingo Night Live. Yes. While the husband might be out of... Not the husband, the boyfriend. I mean, they're not married. Oh, my God. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. They're not mad. They are living in sin, boys and girls. Do you know what I think you should do? I think you should writing letters to the show that I can pass off to Tracy, recommending that they get married before this sin carries on. What do you think? They seem to be quite happy. I'm sure they will get married at one point, but they'll be together forever and a day. So I had my conversation with her. And quite honestly, I have to say the fact that my sister palmed me on to my niece, quite honestly, dear Sharon, I don't suppose you'll be watching this programme, but quite honestly, Sharon, I had a much better conversation with her. Perhaps I'll just ring up my niece in future instead of my sister. I know, it might be a nice thing to do, eh? Oh, hang on a minute, I'm going up there next week, aren't I? Which means, incidentally, because I'm going up to my sister for a few days, I will be off this show for 1 week, OK? So my guess is what will happen, and I haven't told the other radio stations that play the show out yet, I think what will probably... actually, I can sort out the problem myself, I guess. What we will do, I think, is repeat this show and the 2 previous ones. So you'll get the same show 2 weeks in a row, rather than have a gap, because sometimes people have trouble filling that sort of thing. So you may get this show all over again next week. Then again, it might already be next week, so you might have heard it already before. Do you understand what I mean? So there will be no shows for 1 week, and then we'll be back to normal again. Now, I did think about sort of trying to record another 3 shows ahead, but it's an awful lot of time and effort to do that. I have done it before, but do you remember we mentioned this a few months ago? I said, when I'm on holiday, I know it sounds stupid, but I feel guilty that I'm missing shows out. And kind people wrote in and said, don't worry, everyone deserves a holiday, take it. So there'll be this show, the next one, and the one after, and then there will be no shows for 1 week, no new ones. So you might get the same ones repeated once, and then we'll be back with new shows on he says very quickly, bringing up his... oh, hang on, I've got a calendar behind me. Hang on a minute, one minute. There we are. That way we are. 9. And then from the 9th of November, we'll all be back to normal again. And I'll probably record 1 or maybe even 2 shows while I'm up at my sister's. All right, so that's what's happening there. Anyway, so I had a chat with my dear niece. So much more fun to talk to than my sister. My dear niece, Tracy, about everything and putting the world to rights. And then I got the chance to speak to her boyfriend, Ben. I can't remember, she was in the kitchen doing some cooking or something, or cleaning. Whatever. And I spoke to Ben, otherwise known by my niece as Bubblegum Ben. Oh, isn't it nice? Bubblegum Ben. When they... I shouldn't really tell you this. Hope she doesn't find this out. But when they first moved into the house together, she renamed him... Oh, should I tell you this? Brain Dead Ben. Yeah. Because... You know when you move in with someone... You might have been in love with them for ages and ages and ages, and then you move in, or, even worse than moving in with someone, going on holiday with them. Come on. How many people listening or watching this show have known someone for years and years and years and years, never been a problem, and then you've gone on holiday with them? Was it a disaster? Because that's happened to me 3 times. It must be me. It must be me, because you see, I get up in the morning, I talk morning, noon and night. I can't shut up. That is the problem, you see, and I think they get fed up with it. Has anyone ever, come on, tell me, has anyone been on holiday with someone after knowing them for years and years? You don't have to say names if you don't want to. Tell me about it. The email address of the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. I tell you what, I am going to unplug that because that isn't starting to annoy me now. If it's annoying me, it's annoying you. Just a minute. Let me just move over to my electrical switchboard. There we are. Stopped. It's not so nice. All the lights have gone out. All the prettiness has gone, eh? Yeah, it was a present for Nanny Hayes, that little rose, lighting up rose thing. So then I spoke to Ben, and I can't remember what we were talking about. We got onto the subject of DJs and how I had a meeting this week with another radio station that have asked me very kindly to host a new show, possibly in the new year. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that perhaps later in this show, or we might have to hold that for another show. But a very, very interesting idea was given to me, and I'll tell you about that later. And I will need, if you're a podcaster, I will need your help with that, OK? So we'll try and fit that in before the end of the show. Might have to leave it till the next one. You see, I'm hooking you in again, aren't I? Now you're wondering what it is. What could it be? What could it be? What would I say? And what's that song that's just dropped into my head? It might as well rain until September. Who sang that? Carole King, isn't it? We like that one. That's on the karaoke system. Haven't got time to sing it today. I know you're disappointed. Anyway, so I'm talking to Ben on the phone. And I said to him, I think I really need to get a little bit more into the radio, perhaps, side of things, or something like that, you know, like I'm doing now. And pull right back on the DJing as I'm getting a bit too old to do it. And he sat there and blooming well agreed with me. He said, yeah, I know. I mean, you don't do that, do you, dear? I need reassurance, and I didn't get any of it from him. Ben, I've got a good mind to tell her to split up from him and move back home. Pack a case now, Tracy. How dare your boyfriend say I'm too old to be a DJ? It's a liberty, that's what it is, dear. So that was that. What else? Oh, Tracy, my niece, has also dyed her hair dark. Now, I don't know why people do... Well, I do, actually. When I was 18, believe it or not, I dyed my hair blonde, and I had big earrings as well. That was the fashion then. All the blokes had these... I looked like a gypsy. Really big earrings I had. And I had spiky hair. I always remember, because that when I was doing mobile discos, and I'd been booked by this social club to do a disco, and I turned up there, and they were all shall we say, reasonably old. I suppose the average age in there would have been about 50. And I've turned up there, I think I was 22 years old. I had black spiky hair, and it was like that. I mean, it was a lot of it. The black spiky hair and great big gold earrings. And I turned up there, and the look on this bloke's face when I turned up and started setting up, he thought, oh my God, what have we let ourselves in for? But, I just sat there, and I think the music of the night was the 60s, so I had some 50s and 60s as well. And at the end of the night, the bloke actually come up to me and says, thanks ever so much. He come and shook my hand. Would you like to come and work here again? I said, yeah, I would. He said, I'll be absolutely honest. When you turned up with your earrings and your spiky hair, we were really worried. And then you started playing, and it's been fantastic. Thank you very much. Isn't that nice? So there you go. Never judge a book by its cover. There's a little lesson there, isn't there? How many of us, and I suppose I'd be guilty at some points, look at someone and immediately form an opinion? Now, that's not the same, and I'm sure you've had this. When you've been walking past someone in the street, and maybe they don't even look unusual, just a normal person walking in the street, someone that you'd talk to, and bang, you don't like them. You ever had that? I've got to tell you, the dentist I go to. Oh, incidentally, that ulcer's come back again. So I've got a feeling he hasn't smoothed the right tooth down, which is a bit annoying, really, because I've now got a rough tooth inside there. That ulcer has come back again. So I think I'm going to have to go back down to the dentist. Now, I do actually quite like the dentist I go and see. But the periodontist, that's the gum specialist. I went in, sat down, didn't like her straight away. Now, I have got a repeat appointment with her in December. I think I'm going to cancel that one. Just don't like her. Don't know why. I thought she was a bit, do this, do that. There was no, I don't know what word I'd use. Compassion in the voice? Do this, do that. Didn't like her at all. Maybe I just don't like doing what I'm told. You can't be talking to a 45-year-old bloke like that. Anyway, sorry, took an instant dislike to her, so I'll probably cancel that other gum appointment. But you do, don't you? Sometimes you can be walking out in the street and you might brush past someone or just walk past them, and you look and you think, I don't like you. Why is that? What causes that, I wonder? Any ideas? The email address to the show is chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. And don't forget, once again, I'm asking you today, have you ever been on holiday with someone that perhaps you've known for a considerable period of time, and it's been a disaster? You just have not got on together. Tell me about it on the show. You don't need to use names if you don't want to, okay? chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk. Right, what else I'm going to tell you about? Oh, I've been listening to Joe from AmericanTalkUSA.com. He's now got his Peru podcasts out. I was listening to the first one last night while I was coming back from Brighton. It's really very, very good. It's been put together so well. Now, Joe, who is a host of AmericanTalkUSA.com, recently went to Peru with one of those, not charity, one medical, what would you call, like one of those, is it a charity? What do you call that? So, a do-good mission, that sort of thing. When a group of people get together and they go and do good things. Well, he's been to Peru to do that with medical. I think there was a dentist there were nurses, there was a doctor, and they went to Peru, and it was all part of his local church thing. And they've been doing good things there. Now, he's been talking about it on his podcast. What he did when he was there was take his sound recording equipment, and he's got little bits and pieces that he recorded while he was there, and put it all together. And the first, I think, and the second now, the first and second parts of that are now at the AmericanTalkUSA.com website. Now, it really is worth a listen. Okay? If you've never listened to Joe's shows before, then please give this one a go. It's really very, very well put together. And you can actually close your eyes and imagine you being there. And he was talking in the first show about obviously they sleep and eat and everything on the boat. And there's a few of them on this boat, and it goes around different little villages and things like that. And he was saying how they were warned on the boat that you have to remember you are in the middle of the jungle. Was it the Amazon jungle? You're in the middle of the jungle. Okay, even though you're on a boat, snakes can come in the river, climb up the side of the boat, and get inside. So all you've got between you and the jungle is that thin wooden door on the boat. And he was saying they told everyone, whenever you open that door, be very careful because you're never quite sure what's outside it. It could be anything. Maybe somehow a tiger or something like that has got there. Funny thing is, I don't think I'm so bothered about tigers. It's poisonous spiders and snakes. You know, and it's all very scary. And he was also saying on the show, when they went round these villages, presumably the villages were prepared to see them, and people would come to the boat for their, or they would leave the boat and deal with people for medical conditions and dentists. I think there was something to do with someone's eyes and things like that. And he was saying when the people come, they are dressed in their best clothes. And you have to remember, these people in Peru that they were dealing with are very poor. Haven't got much at all. Sometimes I think, like the house I'm living in. Now, there's nothing of great expense here. I'm not an antiques fan or anything like that. As you know, I lead a pretty frugal, is that the word, frugal life. I don't really spend much. However, over 15, what is it? I've lived here since 1992, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've been here 16 years, gradually collecting bits and pieces, you know, just pictures on the wall, maybe boxes, bits of electrical equipment. And it's a 3-bedroomed house I've got here. And it's fairly full of stuff. And probably like you, I don't need most of the stuff. So I don't know why I collect these bits and pieces. You know, where sometimes you're out at the shop and you think, oh, it's quite nice, I'll buy it. And it just sits on the shelf. I've got a bit of a habit of that with DVDs. Over the years, I've collected quite a few DVDs. The most recent ones I've bought are Boston Legal. Has anyone seen that? I've never seen it before. Boston Legal, I bought season 1. I've watched one of those programmes. Very, very amusing indeed. Love it. With William Shatner's in it and that guy who was Data, isn't he? I recognised him. But most of the DVDs have sat on the shelf, wrapped. Some have been there for years. Never even been watched. And I do feel guilty sometimes that I have this house full of stuff. People in Peru or places like that live in sheds, sleep on the floor, no bed, just a few clothes. And the biggest thing they have to do is find clean water and food. We talk about this whole credit crunch here. We're all so worried, aren't we? If I go up to the supermarket later, there are no empty shelves. There's plenty. I was walking around there yesterday, funnily enough, in Sainsbury's just up the road. I only went in for some fruit. What did I went in for? Some grapes. I was walking up the aisle, past the cakes and the biscuits. My God, there's so much of it. Loads and loads and loads of different foods, and yet you go to hear about Peru and places like that, they've got nothing. Lucky to get a meal. So it's a really fascinating, well put together show, and Joe is the same as me, as a guy on his own who goes out and makes these shows because he enjoys doing it. It's the same with James Dean and Madam Mary's, matineeshow.co.uk, and indeed Ross Patzelt, rosspatzelt.co.uk. We all do these little shows, some on the radio, some on podcasts, some on video. None of us get paid. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy doing it. That's why we do it. We'd all love to be paid doing it, but if we don't, that's the way it is. So we carry on doing it. Please, please give that show a listen. As I say, as far as I know, there's the first 2 shows. If you have a look at his list, it will tell you which ones of the Peru. It'll be the 2 at the top, okay? Once again, the address for that one is AmericanTalkUSA.com. AmericanTalkUSA.com. Now, I did have loads more to tell you about, but I think we better get on to the emails because we've chatted away now for 25 minutes. Oh, just one more person. Jason, who I have worked with for many, many years. I stopped working with him about, just coming up to a year ago now. Do you remember when I left that pub last year? Do you know it's a year now? It's a whole year since I left that pub and got the box of biscuits as a going away present. Do you remember that? It's a year. It's absolutely a year. And I was just talking, Jason still works there. He's a lovely guy. I've known him for years and years and years. And he too is a barman and was trying to guess who the barman was I was talking about the other week. Jason, were you right or weren't you right? Horses wouldn't drag it from me. I will not reveal the person or the place that they worked at. They're all trying to guess. And then some of them come up to me privately. Chris, tell us who it was. I won't tell anyone. Nope, not going to tell you. You carry on thinking whatever. I'm sure some of you are right, and I'm sure some of you are wrong. All right, my loves? Jason was saying, do you actually miss working there? Not at all. Not at all. I tell you what I miss, Jason. I miss the times we had there. You cannot... I think sometimes we confuse a building with times. I miss some of the times I had there. And you have to understand that those times are gone. And I was saying to Jason on the phone, if I was to go back in that venue again after a year... You don't pick up where you left up from. You are starting again from scratch. Now, I have to say, that can work. In fact, it can work very well. Well, I think when you've been at a venue for a very, very long time, people get used to you and they start passing you by. I always remember another dear friend of mine, who Jason knows, Joy, who was the manager of the said venue for a short period of time. And I said to her all those years ago, there's not too many people coming here anymore, and I'm not so sure if this is right for me. And she said to me, working perhaps in a venue is a bit like fishing. If you're sitting on the fishing bank with your rod in the water, you catch fish. For a period of time, you can catch quite a lot of fish. But eventually, the fish realise where you are and start going by. If you move up the water, you start catching them all over again. And she said perhaps that's the same when it comes to a venue. But you see, if you move away from that position and come back to the same position a little while later, you catch the fish again. And maybe, Jason, you've got a point there. As I say, you can't go back into a venue and pick up where you started from. I don't believe you can do that. However, if a period of time passes and you go back again and you're still reasonably okay at what you do, I think it can work. I think it would work again. I really do. So that's my answer there. Do I miss the venue? No. I miss the times. The times that we had. I miss the times from doing the Saturday nights in the 90s, early 2000s. I miss the fantastic Monday nights we had end of the 80s to mid-90s, to late 90s. I even miss the Thursdays and the Wednesdays that I did there. And of course I miss the karaoke that we did for a time. But they were times, nothing to do with the venue. They are times and they are people in that time. That has gone and cannot be brought back. Yes, the building's still there, but more important than the building were the people that were there while I was there. So there's my answer to you there, Jason. All right, my darling? Okay, but did you guess the right person or didn't you? Wouldn't like to say, dear. I'm not saying nothing. Thank you, Jason. Right, off we go then, on to some emails. First of all, look who it is. It's our mate Ryan up to north. Ryan, DJ Ryan. Now, Ryan has always wanted to be a DJ, and a little while ago he was asking me bits and pieces, and I gave him, I thought, what was good bits of advice. And now I think he works 2 or 3 times a week as a DJ. So, well done, Ryan. Okay? And he was watching the... he was watching the show that I was doing from next to the lake, and he says, making weird noises in supermarkets, you mean like this? Sometimes I do, yeah. Or I might do it. I might do the noise sometimes. I'll watch to see if there's someone down the aisle. And then I'll high ride on the side and go, ah! And then I'll walk round and walk past the person. And you can see them looking at you, thinking, was that him? He says, I'm listening to one of your shows, but when Rob in Iceland says he's down to his last tin of baked beans, I'm actually living like that at the moment. Oh, well, Ryan... It's... I say to you that you will get out of that at some point. I don't know when. I can't say when. Have I ever been in that situation? No. I can't lie to you. So I can't speak from experience. I've always... I mean, people do call me tight. I'm careful. I'm very careful with money. Always have been. In fact, I'm too careful. You know, I think there has to be sort of a sort of dividing line, really, between being tight or being very careful and being too spend-free. And I think I'm not in the middle. I'm actually too far towards the being careful side. But there's nothing wrong with that. Perhaps, Ryan, that's why I've never been in that situation. I'm not saying that you spend loads of money all the time. I'm sure you have a lot of outgoings as well, but it's very hard. But I'm sure, because I do speak to you on the phone now and again, I'm sure you will get out of that at some point. I'm sure you will, mate. Okay? He also goes on to say, you get visited by dogs 5 times, even though I think the second time you were visited was Mick the dog. Well, that was it. That was in the show recorded by the lake, wasn't it? Yes. And now while the owner watches his dog swimming, and you think I'm doing a radio show and on camera, and you didn't care. I hope so as well. We must carry on. Like brave little soldiers, land of hope and glory. I was watching that on the other day on the telly. The last night at the proms. I recorded it on my Toshiba hard disk recorder. It's fantastic. And then, you know, when they play Land of Hope and Glory, I don't know if you've heard it on last night at the proms from the Royal Albert Hall, but then in the last part of it, the organ is playing, and I turned the telly up, and I switched on my electric piano organ keyboard thing, and I played along with it. Oh, it was fantastic. It was ever so loud. Ever so loud, and good job the neighbours weren't in. He says, oh, and when that small-time podcaster, Ross, said about when they can tell how fast you have driven. Is that in his van? Small-time podcaster, he calls Ross. How rude. I love it. Let's have some more of that. I love it. Small-time podcaster, Ross. We love it. He says, in my experience of a proper job, these employers know exactly what you do and when you do it. It's not pleasant, I'm sure, before that computer was fitted. Yeah, because Ross is a delivery driver for a supermarket, and he says the company knows how fast he's been driving and all this business. Is that what's that called? A tachometer. Is it tachometer? Tachyometer? Is it a tachometer? Oh, what's that thing? They fit them in. I don't know if it's tripometer. Just a minute. Let me ring my brother-in-law. He'll know this one. 1 minute now. Stay there. Oh, it won't be a minute. We'll just find out what it is. A tripometer or something like that. Oh, he's not in. They're not in. Oh, how annoying. Never mind. No, nothing happening there. No. Hello? Who is it? Oh! Door, is Sharon in or Martin? Oh, they're all down the pub again. Oh. All right, thank you very much, Dor. Goodbye, dear. Well, it seems my sister's gone down to Asda, because they have an Asda up north as well. And Martin is, down the old boozer again, I'm afraid. Oh, dear. It's a family of alcoholics I have now up there. I'm so glad. I am a good boy. There's no drink passes my lips, dear. Anyway, I think it's a tachometer or something like that. I don't know. Let me see. Ryan says, it's not pleasant, I'm sure. Before that computer was fitted that checks the speed, he would go over the speed limit occasionally. Are you suggesting that small-time podcaster Ross would go over the speed limit? It's a limit. Probably swearing as he did it as well. Yes, using that word that I don't like to use that means passing wind. Yes. But it's stupid. You can't do one thing out of line without them knowing now. I know, it's awful. It's absolutely awful. It's not like they just want to know what you're up to, but more they want to catch you out. Yeah, absolutely, Ryan. I think so as well. You know what? I had a very, very good manager. When I worked for BT, I was a telephone engineer and an operator. And we had a marvellous line manager called Larry. And he was fantastic. If you did your job, he left you alone. The trouble with these managers now is that even if you're doing a job, they're like, it feels to me that they're out and they're looking for something to catch you on. I bet there's 101 people listening to this show now who know exactly what I mean. You do your job, right? And then the manager comes along and tells you about the most menial of things that you might have got wrong. And there might even be managers watching this show at the moment who are saying, but that's our job. No, it isn't. You're just being damn nasty. If someone's doing the job, leave them alone. I've actually left. I've left places where people keep interfering all the time. It gets on my blooming nerves. You employ me to do a job, leave me alone. And actually, all the places I'm working at, I am left alone now. Okay, no one really bothers me. But it is so annoying, and I know exactly what you mean, Ryan. I bet Ross, he goes out and does his job to the best of his ability. He completes all his tasks and comes back, and then some bonzo will call him into an office and come out with something, and you think it's not so much that you've done something wrong. You kind of sit there and you think, how does he know that? Because they've got nothing better to do than pull out bits of paper from a printer and desperately trying to do their job's worth and find something you don't want. It's like these council officials, isn't it? Where they're looking in bins. I remember reading about someone in the paper, and the council pulled him, but they'd gone in his bin because, of course, the recycling, which is, of course, very important. You know, I'm really into recycling, renewable energy and all that business, right? I'm really into that. I understand how important that is. But you don't need council. This is a real story. One council official went through this bloke's recycle paper bin and pulled out an envelope. You know that envelopes with the little windows. Knocked on his door and said, I think he might. I don't know if he got fined for this, but they told him off because apparently you have to cut the window out of the envelope before you put it in the recycle bin. I mean, it just makes you not want to do it. And you can understand why people's backs go up. Managers looking, hoping not Not that you haven't done the job properly. It's not about that. Some of these managers are looking for something to have a go at you about. Because they're in positions of power and they can do that. So I know exactly what you're saying there, Ryan, and I've come across it time and time again. I'm fortunate at the moment. I don't have that problem at the moment, but I have had it before. I have actually left places because I can't be doing with it. I'm very lucky now that, Ryan, because of all the many years I've been doing it, and as you know, I never really hit the drink and the smoking and the drugs and all that, so I was careful with the money. So now I'm able to look around and say, yes, I'd like to come and work for you. No, I don't want to do that job. Of course, when you start out as a DJ, as you are, Ryan, I'm afraid you cannot pick and choose, OK? You've got to... if you've... Bit of advice for you, OK? This advice was given to me by a guy called Dolly DJ. Actually, I've got a picture. 1 minute. Now, I know that you can't see this if you're not watching the show, but it was a guy called Dolly DJ who died a number of years ago. Those of you watching on the YouTube will be able to see a picture of it now. And he worked at a place in Hammersmith called the Royal Oak, which is no longer there. And the advice he gave me was, as an entertainer, not just a DJ, whether you do karaoke, singing, anything like that, as an entertainer, the advice is, if you're offered the job and you have an empty night, take the job. It doesn't matter where it is, what sort of dump it is. It might be a right old dive. And I work in one particular place that is a bit of a dive. But the atmosphere is good and they pay a wage. So you do the job. If you've got a gap, you're offered a job, doesn't matter where it is, within reason. Obviously, you don't want to be traipsing halfway across the country unless there's a lot of money involved, of course, in which case you would take that as well. If it's a right dive, doesn't matter. If the equipment is falling apart, doesn't matter. Take the job, go and do it and take the money. Because it's another job. Because you never know when it will dry up. All right? That's my advice to you, as given to me by the great Dolly DJ, who died, sadly, a few years ago. I remember meeting this guy when I was doing birthdays and weddings, that sort of thing. And I was desperate to try and get into clubs. And he said, you just keep at it. And he said, you'll get there. And I did. I'll say the same thing to you. And anyone else who wants to do anything like this, really. If you really want to do it that bad, keep trying. Never give up on your dream. And be careful who you listen to. There's a lot of jealous people out there. Perhaps jealous of some talent that you've got. And they will constantly try and trip you up. Be aware of that. Try and surround yourself with one or two people whose opinion you trust. And take note of them. Ryan, when you're DJing and you can have a full dance floor, sometimes all it takes is one person to come up and say, you're rubbish, mate. And even though there are 200 people dancing, that one person who's just told you rubbish will ruin your night. Don't let that happen. Other things that will be said to you is, have you got anything that anyone wants to dance to? And you look over, everyone's dancing. You say, well, look at them. Yeah, but they're only dancing because they're drunk. I've heard it all 101 times before. Don't worry too much, but never have a go at anyone. You've got to try and just be very thick-skinned and accept it. Okay? Anytime you want to ask anything, just let me know, Ryan, all right? He says, P.S. you can read some of the messages out on your show, as I'm sure you're fed up of writing emails to yourself to make you look popular. What a cheek! There I am, helping you. It's a liberty, that's what it is. You're trying to help some people, they don't want to know, do they? Thank you, Ryan. Hello to Matty in Tasmania, Australia, who wants to know, does Britain and Europe celebrate Halloween the same as America does? We don't have Halloween in Australia. Which surprises me. Yes, we do in the UK now. However, I would say to you that it hasn't been around that long. I would say 25 years here in the UK, OK? Been popular in America for ages. The whole Halloween thing here, like Christmas, I'm afraid, has become very commercialised. Lights and bits of paper and blow-up pumpkins and things being sold all over the place. But I wouldn't say it's as big as it is in the States. It's only been over here for, say, 25. And certainly when I was little, I didn't go around banging on people's doors asking for sweeties. All right, so there we are. And don't worry, on the Halloween, I do have 2 ice-cold buckets of water standing by on the top floor window, which I should chuck out at any nasty little children who beg me for sweets. You're not getting anything out of me, I'm afraid. Besides, it's a bit dangerous, isn't it, when you think about it? I don't want to be I'm not politically correct at all, or Mr. Do-Good or whatever that. But when you think about it, knocking on someone's door, hello, it's Halloween. Well, number one, you don't know who's living there half the time. I'm sure they don't. I mean, if you've got any young children, I don't know, below the age of... I don't know, really. 13. Oh, it's only it's only the little ones that do Halloween. It's only the little ones that do Halloween, isn't it? Sort of below 10, I suppose. If you've got children going out and banging on doors, don't you think you should be with them? That's a bit worrying, isn't it, really? If my son was, like, really, really young and wanted to go out Halloween, I mean, maybe not stand next to them while they're banging on someone's door, but nevertheless, perhaps in view down the path somewhere or something like that. I find that all a bit worrying, really. But am I being a little bit too overcautious there? I don't know. I remember at Christmas time, I used to knock on my neighbours' doors and sing them Christmas carols and get money. But that was a bit different. I knew it was sort of on the same level, on the same balcony that I lived on, so I did know everyone, but I do find that one. And also, you know, when people give children the sweets and things, and you know, I'm not being funny, right? And you know they're not poisoned. I'm sorry, yes you do. You get some sick people who would do something like that. Absolutely, you know you would. So I do find the whole thing a bit of a worry, the Halloween, to be honest. But if your little ones are going out, I mean, even, I know, like, there's safety in numbers, okay? But 3 or 4 6-year-old girls and boys knocking on someone's door that they don't even know, I find that a bit of a worry. If you're a parent, then do you go with them, or do you sort of stand sort of slightly over a little bit so that they know you're there, but perhaps you're not in sight of the door that's opening? Let us know if you go with your children on the trick-or-treat thing, or do you just let them go? Let me know, OK? Chris@UnitedKingdomTalk.co.uk is the email address. Joe from American Talk USA wanted to thank me for remembering Amy's birthday. There you are. Yes, I've got that birthday. I think it's birthdayalarm.com, and I'm trying to put people's birthdays in there. So if you've got a birthday and you want me to remember it, send it through on the email address, chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk, and I can add it to my birthday alarm calendar. Okay. Now, hello to Louise. I haven't heard from you for a while, my darling. Hello, Louise. She says, how are you doing? Just been listening to your Thursday the 23rd of October show, where you were talking about the Sunday supermarket shop, which, I mean, I went up there last Sunday to the supermarket. What a nightmare it is to go to a supermarket on a Sunday. I'm sure you know what I mean. Louise says, I really dread it. The only time I'm happy to go is if someone has offered to pay. But it's worse, as he always wants to go out of town to a different supermarket, and then we have fun trying to find things, so we end up spending twice as long in the awful supermarket. No, actually, Louise, I like that. Is that a man thing? And in my case, of course, I do use the term very loosely. Is it a man thing? I love it. You know, when I go on holiday to different places, I love going round the supermarket wherever I am. I was talking a few weeks ago about Publix, wasn't I? Publix, which is one of the supermarkets in Florida. And in Australia, the supermarkets up the north, I think it was it McCoy's or McCann's, something like that? McCoy's, I think. Possibly. Oh, no, it's not McCoy's, is it? I can't think of the name now. But supermarket there. And Woolworths. Woolworths in Australia, okay, is a supermarket. They sell food. Here in the UK, they only sell things. So, yeah, I love it. I love going... It's like that. I went to the Asda the other week, which is... It's near. It's not as near to me as I thought it was, but nevertheless, I went out. It was the first time I went in that particular Asda. How exciting was that? I mean, how sad is that? Dear me. Sad old Codger sitting here doing his radio show. His highlight of the week was going into an Asda that he hadn't visited before. Oh dear. Louise goes on to say, then you end up carrying out with things you didn't need, and then get back home and find you've forgotten everything that you need. I know. So you end up having to go back in the next day. I found the best time to go about it is 9 o'clock in the morning. I try to beat the other mums and get a head start before they all come rushing in. Love and best wishes, and thanks for a great show. Thank you, Louise. I go shopping usually 2 o'clock in the morning. I love it. Oh, it's fantastic. And you get to know all the staff. And I like to chat to them. In fact, when I go in the supermarket, I usually go in late at night. I do find as I approach the staff now, they start walking away. I don't know why that is. Thank you very much, okay. Irving Distiller sends me a message on Facebook. I am on Facebook. If you type in Chris Reardon London, you can add me like that if you want to, okay? And if you do that, then you'll get all the updates for the show. Whenever there's a new show, I tend to send it out on the fun wall on Facebook, okay? Chris Reardon London. Look for me sitting there holding a cup of tea. And Irvin Distiller commented on my status the other day that said, Chris is asleep, or Chris is having an afternoon nap. And he says, rock-a-bye baby on the electric cot. When the sun shines, your buns will get hot. When the cats wake, they'll all start to yow. And down the stairs, Chris will start to crawl. We'll start to crawl. Get your rolls in the oven and your buns in bed. Thank you, Irvin. Disguised as an Anonymous, I'm sure. We're nearly out of time. Look at this. Hello, Suko in New York, who says, thanks for singing to Jade. I sung her happy birthday. She's at school now, but I checked to make sure you had sang to her. She will love the song, and kiss from her tooth fairy godmother. Here's another one, Jade. Mwah! A little kiss on the cheek for you. Madam Mary's from matineeshow.co.uk sang happy birthday to her on Sunday's matinee, and I sang a Haitian lullaby that she's loved since she was a wee babe. Now, I can't wait for her to come home from school so I can play all her greetings from her British uncles and Nana and me. And she also says, in defence of you, my dear, Suko always comes to my defence. I actually spoke to her last night on the phone. Suko. Yes! I was on my mobile phone. James Dean was in his little shed that he has audacity to call his studio, dear. And I was on a mobile phone in the car. On my little Bluetooth thing. We're having a conversation. How fantastic is that? Her in New York, me in, where was I? Me in Brighton, or Berkshire, and James in Manchester. Very clever. She says, in defence of you, my dear, you tell Anthony and your other so-called friends who remark about your increased girth, and tell them it is your winter weight. Tell him you need an extra layer of fat to get through the winter since you don't put the heat on until mid-December. And let me tell you, it still hasn't gone on. Good news, no gas has entered this building yet. I'm very pleased to say. She says, I also meant to write about the Buddhas. You know the little Buddhas that dear Ivona sent me in. She says, I know a little about them. Buddha's a symbol of good luck. In China, the laughing Buddha is called the Puti. Let me just grab my little Buddhas. Which is the laughing one? Well, they all look like they're sort of reasonably... Oh, yes, that must be the laughing one. He's kind of holding some sort of little incense thing. The laughing Buddah is called the Putti. The laughing Buddah travels around spreading joy and happiness wherever he goes. Well, I like to think that's me, actually. I do try. His big belly is a symbol of happiness. Well, that's me. And good luck and generosity. He has a cloth sack filled with precious items, including candy for children and food which represents fulfilment of wishes. If you rub the Buddha's tummy, you will have good luck and prosperity. I'm just going to try rubbing my tummy now. Rubbing tummy. Hopefully I will have good luck now. It also brings a soothing sense of tranquility. The long earlobes some Buddhas have are a sign of wisdom. Let me see. Yes, he's got long earlobes. If the Buddha is lying down, it is representing relaxation and joy. No, he's not laying down. If the Buddha is sitting on a dragon chair, the dragon is a symbol of power to ward off evil spirits and prevent bad chi, or chi, I think it is, which is our body's life force. No, he's not sitting on a chair. From entering your home or shop. If the Buddha is sitting on a bed of coins, it's said to bring happiness and kindness, as well as wealth, power and good luck. A laughing Buddha carrying a chain of coins and standing on a money bag is said to be carrying wealth. Shops display these Buddhas to bring prosperity to the shops. If the Buddha is carrying a gourd called a wulo in his right hand, it's said to bring good health. So thank you very much for that, Suko. And look, I've run out of time. Thank you as always for joining me on the show. Lots of emails here to get. We might have an email catch-up show on the next programme, OK? Chris@unitedkingdomtalk.co.uk is my email address. Thanks for listening and watching. See you on the next show. Bye-bye now.